Sean told me not to say that in here, but I said it anyways. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
If only I knew how to edit and cut it out, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy.
And you want to know why we're not cutting it out? Because we're being authentic.
Like cooking, everything has a recipe.
A set of instructions to follow in order to gain a certain result.
Music is no different.
Be it ingredients for a dish, a set list for an amazing show,
Or a release strategy for a successful launch.
these are all recipes.
Hi, we're your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brandon.
Come and join us in our kitchen as we go through the Music Maker's Cookbook.
Let's get cooking.
Welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook, the podcast where we help independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. This is episode 27. Joining me today is my co-chef, Brandon.
Hello.
Hello. If this is the first time listening to this, thank you for joining in, and hopefully you enjoy this awesome episode we got prepared for you. If you are returning, thank you for coming back and giving us more of your time. We've got a really fun kind of idea we're going to tackle today. And in the future, we're going to be able to dive more deep into this kind of whole philosophy. But today, really important, we're going to be talking about how to making sure that you are musically satisfied in what you're doing.
Yep.
Because we talk a lot about the analytics and recipes. We're all about recipes here of
Yes, we are.
cooking up recipes for success, which often relies on numbers and strategies and bringing all this data together. But at the end of the day, it is the music, and you need to make sure that the music is at the forefront and that you're happy with what you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's the point of even making music if you're not satisfied with it? I get it. There's fame, there's fortune behind it too. That can be also tied to it. But at the end of the day, music is a very community-based thing. And I think you should be able to enjoy what you do and the product that you put out.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, fame and fortune is definitely something that can be a driving force. And we'll tackle that at the end of the episode. We will circle back to that. But real quick, since Thanksgiving just happened at the time of posting this episode. So if you're listening this day of, hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving requires a lot of cooking to make a lot of food.
Yes, it does.
A lot of recipes are being made. So to kind of have a quick analogy for making sure you're musically satisfied and how even following a recipe perfectly can make it so you're not.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a recipe for a shepherd's pie. I'm going with this recipe again. Inside joke with Brandon and I. And you've got, it's ground beef or ground sheep or whatever, and it's vegetables, mashed potatoes, and, seasonings and whatnot. Let's say you've got this awesome recipe from your great grandma passed down to generations of your family, and you are looking to cook it and it turn out perfect, and you follow each step perfectly, all the timing, all the temperatures, all the ingredients, everything is perfect, and you have a perfect shepherd's pie. That's awesome. You followed the recipe. You got the amazing result. But you forgot that you don't like beef, and you used ground beef. Well, great. You did the perfect. You cooked it amazingly. You followed the recipe to a T. You got the exact result, but you don't like how it tastes. It doesn't taste good to you. You're not happy with it. You don't want to eat it. It's not satisfied.
Yep.
The same thing can happen with music. You can go back through our whole catalog, which you should if you haven't, and listen to all these recipes and implement them, which you can if you think they could help you, and get perfect, amazing results with it. But if it's not what you're looking for, if it doesn't service you or your music in a way that makes you happy with it, then is it really the right thing to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I would argue no.
I would also argue no.
Like even with the cooking example, you can make like a slight little thing like, oh, but uncle enjoys it, right? So I make it for him, right? But you can't really do that with
your fans
music.
enjoy it.
Your fans enjoy it, but like
mom enjoys it.
Like at that point, is it just kind of like a assembly line? People enjoy it, so I'll just do it. But I mean, if you're not having fun with it, then sometimes that could spill over into it too.
Yeah.
So that can be almost like a negative feedback loop within itself. Is now all of a sudden the quality control of your music's kind of gone because you just don't care as much anymore. Maybe that's something that you go for. I don't know. Maybe that's cool, like in the genre. But yeah, I mean, it can kind of like unravel, and then honestly, just as a person, it can make you a little bit unhappy. Yeah. I wouldn't say miserable, but unhappy.
Well, we're all about helping create recipes to do what you love for as long as possible. And the key words in that are long as possible and what you love. And if you don't love it, you're not going to do it for very long. And I want to kind of be clear here that a lot of this is a long-term kind of goal. That's the end result, to be doing it as long as possible. And what you're satisfied with now, you may not be satisfied with down the road. And that's okay. Artists change. They do it all the time. So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of change. If what did satisfy you isn't satisfying you currently with your music, don't be like, oh man, well, but all my fans like, this really rock sound, but I kind of want to dive more into reggae a little bit or try some different rhythms or whatnot. Or it's a power trio. We got guitar, bass, and drums, but I really want to put some synth in here. That's fine.
Yep.
Do it. Try it out. There's always going to be people who are like, I like the old band.
Yeah.
But music is evolving. It's never been more prevalent than nowadays. We always bring up Taylor Swift.
Yes, we do.
She's the best
visual
should. Representation, as we should. She's the best visual representation of having different eras and changing your style, your sound drastically. And that is okay.
Yep.
That's how you be, that if you aren't satisfied with what you're doing at the moment, you can change it up.
Yeah.
So just want to say that this is the long term. We want to do what you love for as long as possible. So if what you love changes, you still want to do it for a long time. Change what you're doing to make it what you love.
Yeah.
Also, if it is popular but you hate it, that can burn yourself out. If you feel like you're stuck doing the same thing again and again and again, which sometimes you hear from bands that are especially
artists,
especially if they're one-hit wonders. They're like, we play the same song 5 days a week again and again and again. I'm sick of it because that's all people care
imagine
about.
how Metallica feels playing Enter Sandman for the 10th time.
Maybe they like it. Maybe they don't.
They like it. I have no idea. They put on a face like they like it, which is great because they're performers. That's what they're supposed to do. But is that really satisfying after doing it for 30 years?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's tough.
But that's why even when an artist releases an album that is the chart-topping album, biggest album of all time, they have all the money they could ever need. They have all the fame they could ever need. They still release another album.
Yep.
Because they want to be creatively fulfilled. They want to keep putting music out. And while, yes, there are these hits that you will play at every single show if you have a huge catalog and make it big, well, you're still going to put new songs out. You're still going to play new songs. You're going to have new song tours, new album tours, things like that. So it's going to change. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you brought up a good point too with your analogy of wanting to put stuff into a song and you're trying to cram everything in there and you want to do all the things. And that kind of brings us to the point of like trying to strike a balance between being overly analytical with your music versus being overly creative with your music. You bring up a really valid point in that what you're doing today is not necessarily what you'll be doing tomorrow. So like if you want to put synths in there, you want to be reggae, but you also want to have distorted guitars in there. Maybe it's best you just stick with like what you're good at like right now and what you want to make right now and then add that stuff later, right? Because like you're always refining the musical product later with the, like different things that influence you at the time. So being overly creative can be great, but it can also be a detriment to your music depending on how you're using it. Sometimes like I'm not God's gift to creativity at all. And like when I hear other people's music, I'm like, wow, that was really creative. They really made that work, which is awesome. But sometimes something just might not work as well. Vice versa, to being overly analytical, where you're like, oh, I want to remove this fifth from this chord at this one specific part. Will anybody notice? Well, first of all, it's a fifth, so it's not really that important. Let's be honest. The fifth kind of sucks.
Whoa,
hot take. Sorry about that, but that's why we can remove it for a seventh and still have a seventh chord. Just saying. And then I won't get started on parallel fifths. I'm so sorry if this is not a music theory podcast, but that's this like one of the things right there is like, oh, should I remove this fifth? Should I not? I don't know, whatever you feel. Like if you're feeling the fifth, put the fifth in. If you're not, take it out. It's really sometimes as simple as that. So both can kind of be hindrances, but like Sean was saying, like you're going to end up doing different things later on, and what you're doing now does not define what you do later on either. So just be ready for things to change sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, because it will change.
It will. It's inevitable, right? Yeah. We live life unless you just are somehow in a vacuum and you're not experiencing different things or something. It's going to change.
This reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. Not my favorite, not the one that you think I'm going to say.
You're going to get that in this episode.
I will fit it
anyways.
in.
Yeah.
This whole episode is basically about this, about that phrase as a topic. But what it is that if you are truly being yourself and having fun and, being creative and doing what works for you and you're interacting with the world, then there is no other possibility than new creation, because there is no other you and there will be no other you. No one else can or will do the things that you're doing or think the way you're thinking. And then the world is constantly evolving and changing. So whenever you interact with the world and you are exactly who you are, being authentic, there is no other result that can happen but the creation of a new experience, a new thought, a new emotion, a new feeling, because it'll never be repeated again. So that's part of the reason why it's like, embrace who you are, embrace what works for you, embrace having fun and like feeling satisfied with your music, being truly in it, because that's how, the next step forward happens. That's how new music is created. That's how you fully, develop as an artist.
Yeah, 100%.
And get people involved. And authenticity is so, humans have evolved to be good at knowing what's bullshit.
Yeah.
At least to a degree, unless like someone's really good at lying, humans can often be like, something's not right here.
Yep.
And the same thing can come through with music. That's why a lot of songwriters, when they have a big hit song and they shop it around to different artists, they'll shop it around to tons of different artists because they don't need to find which one sounds the best, which one has the best voice, which one will be the biggest hit. A lot of singers have a great voice and it'll be a huge hit. A lot of times they're looking for which artist believes this.
Yeah.
Because you can hear when in the performance, which artist actually agrees with the words. And that just takes it to the next level. And that's just what's so important in music and life and everything. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you make a great point is that humans are very quick to point out the bullshit. It's getting increasingly harder these days, especially with the advent of AI and things like that. And Photoshop, of course, and those deep fakes. Like it's getting increasingly challenging. I've seen some pretty convincing deep fakes out there that I'm like, did this person really say this? And it's like, no, this was fake. It was like, whoa, because this looks really, really close to being real. But I think authenticity in music is completely undervalued and underappreciated because you can tell who is authentic about the music versus who might not be as authentic. And like I said, it kind of sometimes feels like an assembly line, but then again, if that's the music that person enjoys and it's just not something that I necessarily enjoy, like as long as it's fulfilling to you, then that's fine.
So that raises the question, what part of the process do you love? What do you really enjoy about making music? Is it the people you get to work with? Is it performing on stage? Is it, playing the guitar, singing the songs, whatever it may be? What do you love? What makes you feel connected to your music? And what else can you get rid of potentially? What else can you outsource so that things that don't help you be creatively satisfied, sometimes the analytics and all that stuff is still really important to getting the end result that you need, but it might take away your thought of the music. Like, I don't want to think about the numbers because it makes me feel like the music's not just about the music. Well, the numbers can be important. So maybe you can hire someone to keep track of the numbers for you, build your team, get a list, not a list, get a team of people who can be on your side, look at the analytics for you, take this pressure off of you and do the focusing behind the scenes to take care of what's important, to cook these recipes that other people will enjoy that maybe you don't enjoy, but still need to be cooked. So that way you are more satisfied with your music because you're not doing the things that take away what the music means to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to clarify too, like it is one of those things where the numbers are important at some point if you want to make this a career. Somebody's going to have to manage those numbers. And like what Sean said, if you're not a fan of those numbers, get somebody to do it for you or somebody that understands those numbers to kind of relay the messages to you. Because the numbers, they're tough. They're tough, right? And we're going to have an episode sometime in the future about how these numbers sometimes interact with us like psychologically. So if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned because I think that one's going to be a really, really fun one. I'm really looking forward to that one.
I get to nerd out and deep dive on the brain.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We'll be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sean told me not to say that in here, but I said it anyways. No, I'm just kidding.
If only I knew how to edit and cut it out, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy.
And you want to know why we're not cutting it out? Because we're being authentic.
Yep.
And this is satisfying. So we're practicing what we preach. To kind of go back to...
Well, real quick, before you move on, I do want to say, just like in cooking, in music, you can use pre-made ingredients. So if...
What?
Yeah. You can use prepackaged, pre-made ingredients. There's nothing saying you have to go from scratch every single time. If you don't like making posts on social media to get people interested in the next concert you have, and you just want to focus on rehearsing and performing... Well, you can go to things like Canva and whatnot and use their templates. You don't have to go out, take a photo, type up the unique text. There's now tools like ChatGPT and things like that that can give you text and writing for your website and all this stuff. And there's templates for websites. You don't have to know how to code. There's a bunch of things that you can do, a bunch of pre-made ingredients that you can now just implement in your recipes.
Yep.
It's perfectly fine. You don't have to make, if you're making spaghetti, you don't have to make the
noodles
from scratch.
Oh, bullshit. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I've never made a noodle in my entire life. I just use the Bria ones or Brilla, whatever it is. So
I've made noodles from scratch. It is really fun, but you don't have to do
I bet
it.
it's brutal though.
It's really fun. It does take a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a long process. I've seen videos on TikTok that last about 6 seconds, but I know it takes about 30, 45 hour minutes. So hour minutes, nice.
Hour minutes.
That's where we're
measurement of time.
That's where I'm at in the podcast right now.
Set your kitchen timer to hour minutes.
We need a kitchen timer right here.
Dude, if I had something dinging that because we went on too long, I would know. We're not doing that.
Dude, that's a great idea. No, because I think
this is the shut up timer.
Last episode I talked about this app called Structure, and I wonder if they have like some kind of ding in there that we could structure the episode through.
I own a kitchen timer.
Like an authentic
actual kitchen timer.
That's awesome.
I could bring it in.
That's kind of sweet.
Emphasis on could.
Like a quick, this is a 5-minute thing. Set it. We're just really jotting down notes for us later on with what we can implement. So this is you get to experience how we talk.
Yeah.
And how ideas are cultivated.
That's part of the fun of it. We just kind of talk.
Which is kind of funny because it's ironic because this episode's almost about the exact same thing.
Yeah, it is.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing. We're having fun with it.
Yeah.
And if you're not having fun with it, you're not taking it seriously.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to just, have loose conversation. It's all conversation based here. We go into more specific things on our social medias. You can check out, us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff. Had to do the plug in there for more structured videos and breakdowns of whatnot.
Yep.
But,
he also said his favorite saying right in there.
I did.
So he got it in.
I did.
And he thought I wasn't going to notice.
No, I knew you would.
It was slick though. It was slick though because you didn't even make a face or anything. Like it was just like natural. Good to go. So that was great. That was great. I got to get mine in there. Opportunity cost. Don't know how it's going to fit in there, but that's mine. So there you go.
I said it earlier.
Did I?
I think you did.
Do I just not know when I say it anymore?
I guess it's just so ingrained into
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty good. I'm going to get a tattoo called Opportunity
That's tasty.
Cost.
That's pretty damn good. That's tasty. All right, so I'm gonna let you move on now. What were you gonna say before we?
I don't remember, but
talking about kitchen timers.
But we're gonna give you a couple tips though to kind of help remain musically satisfied within your creations. And the first one is to, this one's tough. And like I guess giving you a tip in this would be almost dumb, but I'm gonna say it anyways because how are you gonna avoid it? It's nothing. It just pops up, right? Mm-hmm. Try to avoid imposter syndrome at any point. We've said it before. We're going to do an episode about imposter syndrome. We should probably do that soon if we keep mentioning it. I'm gonna
we did a brief.
We did a brief thing. Yeah, we did a brief thing. I think we said we wanted to do a fuller episode on it possibly, but this is like one of those points where it's something you should try to avoid, in my opinion, at all costs. But it's not something that you can like actively avoid, if that kind of makes sense. It'll creep up at the weirdest times, and the weirdest triggers will cause it to kind of creep into your life. I would say though that this is really prevalent for very, very, very new beginners with writing music. And what I mean by that is that when you're writing new music and you're writing music that you want to put out there, you tend to emulate your idols a lot more, I think, from the beginning, where opposed to like where you're more of a seasoned vet, where you kind of start trailing off. And what's that?
Seasoned vet, good pun.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even mean to do that, but
yeah, you did.
where you're a seasoned vet and you tend to bring new things and new ideas, you're open to more, right? And more because you have more experience under your belt. But even like the seasoned vets, though, I think there are some people that get to a point. I've seen it on documentaries and stuff before. I can't name anything right now, but it was like I've seen people get to a point in their career where they're taking stages with their idols at some point. They're like, I don't belong here. Even imposter syndrome creeps up there. So you're not immune to it at any point of the stage. I just think that there are places where you're more prevalent to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's the saying is like comparison is the robber of joy, and a lot of imposter syndrome can be directly tied to basic comparison, where it's like, oh man, this other band in my scene does similar music that I do. They have 1,000 followers, monthly listeners. I've only got 200. Man, they're so much better than I am. Yada yada yada.
Yep.
And that comparison can make you feel like you're, oh, I'm not great. I only got 200, but you've got 200. And you've only been doing it for maybe a 10th of the time.
Yep.
Or even if you've been doing it 10 times as long, there's still things that are positive. Well, I've got 200 dedicated listeners who have been with me for a decade at this point, and they show up to all my shows. And, there's different ways of framing and looking at it. And I want to talk about framing at some point.
Sure.
I could go way off on that. Not today, but the imposter syndrome of they're doing this, I'm not, that makes me feel bad, or I'm getting this success, but I don't necessarily feel like I should be getting the success, not that I deserve it. That is also kind of what imposter syndrome is.
Yeah.
And comparison is a great way to get you to that point.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
isn't great,
Right,
even though it's a
right.
great way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think imposter syndrome sometimes is rooted in a deeper cause sometimes as well. Like you have to really be introspective about that and know where this, I don't want to say it's an insecurity, but sometimes it manifests itself as an insecurity, but that can be ingrained somewhere into your psychology. Of course, I'm not a psychologist or licensed psychologist by any means, but like if like you said, Sean, like if you see another band in your lane that's local to you and they're doing maybe something different than you are and you're jealous of that, then that might be a deeply rooted cause from something before.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've ever mentioned it on here, but we always, recommend therapy. You go see a therapist for any mental health thing. Even if you think you're mentally healthy, you should go see a therapist. I think everybody should. So we just want to put that out there too.
Yeah.
Just take care of yourself. Yeah.
Talking is beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it be to friends, families, whoever, talking is
And
beneficial.
that's how severe imposter syndrome can be though. So that's why I want to throw it out there too. And I think a separate episode like we've talked about.
We'll dive into more how to
analyze,
handle
it and
how to spot it, analyze,
exactly.
try to
Yep. Because that'll be one that I'll listen to next time I get imposter syndrome, which will probably be in about 30 minutes. So
as soon as we stop recording.
That's right.
Another thing that kind of be aware of to make sure that something that not being satisfied with your music can lead to is burnout, which is the idea of I am so tired, I'm exhausted with doing this again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
When you're creatively fulfilled, it's kind of like putting gas back in the tank.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're running, you're not satisfied, you're not fulfilled, you don't feel like there's meaning behind what you're doing, you're burning the tank.
Absolutely.
And eventually, you'll burn out. We do a full episode about kind of burnout and identifying and handling it as an artist. That's episode 10 of our podcast. You can check it out for more details and kind of like how to spot it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But making sure you're creatively satisfied. And we talked about the start of this episode of going through the whole process of, am I happy with the end result? Am I doing what I need to do? Do I need to change my style, my look, my sound to make sure that I'm as satisfied and I can do this for a long time? That's a way to kind of adapt and move and change to stay excited and avoid burnout. That's another thing that can really, really slow you down.
Yeah. I want to make a quick point on what you're saying here. And like something that we always preach is like, how do I keep doing this for a long time? A lot of that has to do with
money.
And I was going to say a lot of that has to do with cash flow, right? And how you get inspiration sometimes.
Are we going to do an episode about cash flow in the future?
We should.
Okay,
we should.
I literally have a document open. This is how laid back we are here.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
I'm gonna put in some recipes that we can tackle.
Episode 26, I think we stopped and said we should do a podcast episode about that. We should do an episode about that. I think we counted like 9 times or something like that because of what we want to do a whole marketing series. Oops, little spoiler in the future. But and Sean's writing all these ideas down now because like now we have to go back and listen to the episode to listen to what we were talking about. And
exactly.
So now he's going to keep tally. But
I'm typing away too.
Yeah. What I was going to mention is like doing this for a long time and involves cash flow and being able to manage that cash flow. And if you find that you get your inspiration from buying things, that can be a very big detriment to your business. I know I do get inspiration from buying things. Sean, do you get inspiration from buying things?
Oh, well, asking about do I get inspiration from buying certain things? We have a whole episode about motivation versus discipline and kind of like how they go hand in hand and how we each tackle and implement them. Trying to find the exact episode.
I think about that episode every time I go to do my daily routine now.
Do you?
I do.
That's funny. Episode 18, motivation and discipline, how to keep on cooking. I really focus on motivation and keep myself motivated. And a lot of the ways I do it is by getting new bits and bobs and toys,
nice subsidy,
and dials and flips and switches and things that make my nervous energy have a place to focus into with music. Yeah. So yes, buying things definitely
it's
help.
a blast.
But they also hurt.
They do. And I just bought something yesterday. So, and I'm waiting for it to arrive. It's going to be really fucking cool. And you know what? We're going to do an episode showing our new stuff, right?
It's going to be on our social media. We're gonna do
Okay, we're
shorts
gonna
about
do
it.
okay, okay,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Humorous ways, and kind of also be more technical deep dives about different tones and different instruments and
Yeah.
whatnot on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this, check it out because we've got an amazing setup that Brandon did with the lights, and we also have some exclusive content more on YouTube that's specific to that. But you know, the podcast is always going to be the foundation. So thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
Sticking through this.
Yeah, and
hopefully
I think I brought this up really just to kind of illustrate that this can kind of manifest itself in a lot of different ways within your music, whether it's on the musical side of things or it's on the business side of things too. If you're buying things to become inspired, then maybe it's time to take a deeper look into why that is or how to kind of remedy that, you know, and try to find new inspirations along the way. And because like that instant gratification, that temporary satisfaction is not true satisfaction, and it will never lead to almost true satisfaction. I say that like I have billions of dollars, right? but I think that's true though, right? Is like we're gonna get into a whole episode of psychology and stuff. I'm not gonna go deep into it, but you need that foundation behind you to be able to be satisfied with things later on. And I think this is one of those things where if you're making not great purchases or you're looking for satisfaction in other ways, that's a clear indicator that you need to look in, I think.
Yeah, and it can, if you're doing all this and it's adding stress to your life.
Yeah, that too, because that can add a lot of stress.
Yeah, that's a great way to kind of see that this might be a problem because man, I'm tight on this month, or I'm having a hard time with this because I bought this or spent time doing this. No, we're not going to psychology, or this is not a judgment episode, but just things to be aware of and things that can kind of like when you're not fully satisfied by the music, the process of the music, and you're not doing the things that you love and doing it the way that you want to do it, that could lead to your brain trying to find satisfaction in other regards and trying to implement and do other things that may not necessarily push the needle forward or whatnot. Yeah. So,
and then you might be asking yourself, like, why are we honing in so much on gear? Well, gear is an important part of the process. It really is. I mean, I have gear behind me. Sean has gear at his studio. We have gear behind the camera. It's an important part of the process, and it's a fun part of the process for a lot of people. I know for myself, I'm included in that. And in fact, there would be a short out me talking to you guys about that. But so I think that's why I'm bringing it up, is because we can get lost in that for sure.
Well, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we are past the time where you could have a 240p webcam, record yourself playing an acoustic guitar, post it on YouTube, and get hundreds of thousands of views. Yeah. Nowadays, you have to have a good camera, good quality, 1080p, good lighting setup. We got these lights on the side. We've updated our look. You have to have, a certain level of audio that people come to expect on these platforms. The bar has been risen. Yep. Same thing with your music. There's so much music out there. You have to have a professional presentation to it. Yep. And unfortunately, gear plays a factor in that, but fortunately it's cheaper than it ever has been before. This lighting setup to get this kind of look would have been 10, 20 times the amount of cost a decade or more ago. So
I think all this in combination is $100.
Is there anything else you kind of want to talk about, things to be aware of that can help, not help, but help kind of take you away from the music, or can leave you feeling incomplete or unsatisfied by it?
Yeah. Your personal life can definitely play a big role into how you create your music and what you add to your music. Oh man, the psychology episode is going to be big. That's going to be a thick boy.
It might have to be a series.
It might be.
We're gonna have to like reference a bunch of books.
Yeah.
And, like, try to be as informed as we possibly can.
Absolutely. And sometimes great music is bred out of chaos, but sometimes it is not. And depending on what kind of person you are and how you make your music, that can be an ultimate tale of how your music is delivered, and if you're even musically satisfied with it. The worst part about it is that if you're a person that does not thrive in chaos, and you have chaos going on in your life and you're making music while there's chaos going on, and you listen back to that and you're like, man, I'm just not satisfied with this, there's another tally right there of why like you might not be in a great mood, or like you might be feeling down about yourself, because now music's not even saving you at this point, right? And that's really important, because music, like we said, should be satisfying. It should be self-fulfilling. And if you don't get that self-fulfillment that you normally get out of it, then that's dangerous, because that can lead to a lot of bad things, mental health wise.
I forget which episode I talk about it in, but it kind of goes back to how I think there are three main reasons why people make music. one is vanity.
Mhm.
I use that. It has a bad connotation to it, the word vanity, but I don't mean it in that way. It's the idea of I want people to see me. I want to be the capital A artist. I want to be the forefront of my art. I want to be known. Nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But that's the first reason. The second one being therapy. I need to express my feelings, need to get these emotions out. Maybe you don't have someone you can talk to. Maybe you're in a situation that you just need to rely on the music to get it out. And then the third one is monetary,
Yeah.
to make money with it, to get big, to get famous, that whole thing. And they all have value. In fact, in order to be successful, you
Absolutely.
need to emphasize all three of them so you can be authentic by having it be kind of a therapy or a way of expressing your stories and the way you feel. And you have to have the vanity. You want to be the capital A artist to constantly go out again and again and again and perform,
Mhm.
especially to empty rooms at the start. And then
Oof,
in order to do
yeah.
it for a long time, you have to have, monetary reasoning of it. And what you just said really kind of leans into that. Having a strong personal life, that's kind of a foundation. And music is a great way to handle, escape, and deal and think about and work on all this. And that's
Mhm.
the therapy aspect of it. So while it can't, I'm not going to say it's going to always diminish the quality of your music, because a lot of times it can, where your life situation really plays a big role in what your music is, be it good or bad or whatever it may be. And using it as a tool to help you is also allows you to use as a tool to help others. And that's so powerful.
Mhm.
That's such a powerful thing with music. Music moves souls, moves feet, moves mountains. It
Yep.
just moves people. And that's the power of it. But that all being said, kind of going back to your point, is that really does affect how satisfied you are with your music, is your personal life. And that also goes back to earlier how I said what you're satisfied with changes over time. If you are in a chaotic environment, or you are in a sad environment or happy environment,
Mhm.
and you're satisfied in the moment, and then a year later you're in a completely different situation, your old song may not be satisfying to you anymore. You
Yeah.
might not
Oh,
want to
yeah.
play it.
It's
Yeah.
a great point. I mean, I remember at some point in my life, I was at a weird spot. It was like right after high school, and I used to listen to a specific type of music. When I hear that now, I cringe at that music because I know exactly what I was thinking, how I was acting, and just the overall vibes that society was giving me and that I gave off into the world, right?
Mhm.
And I hate it. I can't go back to that music.
Yeah.
Like it is imprinted in me that hard. So like a little personal example right there is like, ooh, it really is. It's imprinting,
And that's okay.
and that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, let's just completely throw it all away
Go
about
on.
making sure that your music makes you satisfied, that music's important to you. Because if you are in it for the fame and the fortune, if that is your goal, and before you say yes, that's what I want, I'm asking you to really think about what's important to you. Like, really put time and think about, what is the perfect day like? What is your end goal? How much effort are you willing to put into it? What is the result you want from it? If it is fame and fortune, and you've done the time, you've done the research, you've thought about it, and that's the conclusion, great. That's fine.
Mhm.
Just keep that in mind. Be sure that you internalize that and you know what your end goal is, so that if your music isn't satisfying and you are feeling the slum of it, you have that internal feeling of what you do want so you can push past it. I forget what philosopher said it, but it was a person with a why can deal with any how.
Mm.
So if you know the why, and the why is fame and fortune, then you can handle any how or any
Mhm.
difficulty along the line of, I'm not satisfied, I'm not having fun, this isn't great. If you truly do want that end result, you can push through it. But I just urge you to think about it before you go into a scenario or put yourself in a place chasing the high, chasing the
The dangling carrot.
dangling carrot,
Mhm.
whatever is hot this week on TikTok, whatever is
Yep.
hot this season,
Mm.
sound wise, before you go chasing after it, think about, okay, is this really what I want?
Yep.
And if you do, that's fine. You have your why, but really, really put time and thought into thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with if the reverse. If you know the why of, I just want to make music that fulfills me, then you can handle any how.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you can handle not having a large fan base or rejection, or if you change from one sound to the other and bunch of people are like, I prefer the old sound, I like the old band. Well, you have your why. You can deal with that. You can manage that. So it's important and it's healthy and it's just good to think about it. Put thought into, what am I doing? Why am I putting so much effort into this career, this idea that honestly is really fucking hard?
Yeah. It's tough.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Guess what? You're playing life on hard mode. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Very rewarding,
Yeah.
but man, it can take a long ass time. So just think about that and get your why, and be sure you know what it is. Be sure you know what you're going for so that you're not deterred from it.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that. That was great.
Yeah.
That was great, dude. I love the quote too.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I'm gonna have to look it up.
I really hope it's Kierkegaard.
That would be so dope.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah, you should.
Because I read it from the book Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay.
Which is a very depressing book.
Oh.
If you ever read it. Viktor von Frankl, he quotes this, and I believe he quoted from Kierkegaard. He is a Holocaust survivor. And the first half of the book is his experience. He's also a psychologist. The first half of his experience of being in Auschwitz. And then the second half of the book is him taking that experience and what he learned about the human condition. And it's kind of about this. It's all about man's search for meaning and how the search for meaning is the meaning. We're constantly trying to find it, and it evolves and it changes, and that's okay. And a man that has a meaning can handle anything and has a reason, in his experience, has a reason to live through the horrors of what happened.
Yeah.
So that's a really good book too. But yeah.
Sounds like a good book. Is it on Audible?
It is on Audible. That's how I listened to it and I read it at the same time.
Okay.
I have a copy if you want to borrow it. Oh, wait, no, Kevin has it. Never mind.
Kevin?
Yep.
If you're watching this, read the book.
Give it to Brandon.
I'm interested.
Okay, so looking up the quote. Now, no, it's Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
Yep. So different person, but also a good philosopher.
Valid either way.
Valid either way. It's just a good statement. I'm glad I checked this now so that I can, if someone's commenting like, oh, it wasn't him, it was Nietzsche. It's like, well, you can wait till later episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fun to look up things while we're recording.
It is. It's very helpful, actually.
Yeah. Make sure I'm not saying dumb things on top of the dumb things that I am always saying.
Like, I'm always saying dumb things, so it's just helpful to be able to say something that's like mildly not dumb. So
one thing that is really not dumb is following this podcast. Clicking a like button, smashing the subscribe button.
Yeah, all the adjectives and adverbs and verbs.
Exactly. We need to sit down and come up with cooking related adjectives and adverbs for what we want people to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you should smash the meat out of the fucking button.
Pretend the like button is meat and beat it. There's a reason our podcast is labeled explicit and not for children. But yeah, it really helps us.
The meat.
Share this.
Crazy.
Share this with any musician, any bandmates, anyone that you think could benefit from watching and listening to this podcast. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms because, as I said, we put tasty little treats, bite-sized snacks, tutorials, information, wrap-ups, all that stuff. So check that out.
Wrap-ups.
Yep.
Love me a good rap.
More food puns. I am not a big fan of most raps. Because a lot of times
we're going to talk off camera.
We are. He's going to have words from me, and by words I mean he's going to be mean. No, he's not going to do that.
He'll be mean.
Mean Brandon. I've not seen that yet. I've not seen Mean Brandon.
It pops up every now and again.
I feel it's in there. He's going to change the light to green.
No, it's going to turn beet red.
Beet red?
Yeah.
Red Hulk reference. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, were you going for?
I was going for Hulk.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay. I see where you're going with it.
Slipping a little nerd reference.
Yeah. I was thinking like pure chaos.
Leave a comment if you love the chaos of our.
You know what?
Slates.
You know what? All through December, here's what we're doing. We're changing the lights already. We're changing. One's gonna be red. One's gonna be green.
Okay, I want the green one.
Okay, that's fine.
Cool.
I think I pointed green over to you.
You did. I just want to verbalize.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can have the green.
Yeah, because my studio is green.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Green is part of like my branding of SBS Recordings.
That makes sense.
But that being said, thank you for dining in with us. We had a fantastic time eating, cooking, and talking with you. And
are you gonna leave a tip, Sean?
No,
me neither. Bon appetit.
We're the ones that cook. Why would we leave a tip?
Well, I don't know. Like, I think we did a good job.
You should leave a tip and follow us.
Yeah, you should. You should. Let's start that. Let's do that again. One more time for everybody.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.